All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and we're here with this video to break down how wide receiver KJ Osborne will fix and improve this Washington Commanders offense down this stretch that we're trying to go on through the playoffs, not just making the playoffs, but hopefully winning a game or two or more. Is he better than Noah Brown? Is he a season saver? Also, in the second half of the video, we're going to break down Lattimore's impact and how he'll help the defense, so how KJ Osborne will help the offense and how Lattimore will help the defense. And of course, you already know this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And before we dive into everything, make sure you still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, and still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Make sure you pull up for the live stream tomorrow, or by the time a lot of y'all are watching this, probably later on today for this upcoming Saints game. I will be live streaming all four quarters, play-by-play, announcing all of that type of stuff, breaking down everything like I do for every single game this season. And you know, I'm going in very confident, and so we're gonna have that call-in show, that victory call-in show, loaded up immediately after the game ends as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Without further ado, let's go and dive into this video. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so first of all, let's take it all the way back to when we first signed him and how much we needed him and basically why we signed him. Well, shouts out to JP Finley for pointing this out, because bigger picture for Washington offense is now they're without Noah Brown and Austin Ekeler. That's over 1,100 yards of offense gone with 4 games remaining on the season. Maybe one or both come back, but it seems like a slim chance for either to come back at this point. Now, we do see Austin Ekeler at practice warming up like I talked about in my previous video. I'm still not expecting him back anytime soon, though. Maybe, you know, in the playoffs, maybe he'll be ready or something like that. Best case scenario, in my opinion, maybe he's ready for the season finale against the Dallas Cowboys. Either way, though, we're going to be without 2 really important pieces of our offense down this stretch, and we have to play the Eagles again. And you know, it'd be really nice to win that game, and don't overlook the Cowboys because we just lost to them. And if you can lose to the Cowboys, you definitely shouldn't be overlooking the Falcons. So we need some offense to step up right now outside of those 2. I mean, even on top of that, Noah Brown and Austin Ekeler have combined for 96 targets this season. That's 26.5% of Jaden Daniels' total passing attempts. So we basically lost slightly over a quarter of Jaden Daniels' preferred targets this season. With both of them possibly out for the season, this passing offense could look significantly different the rest of the way. Shouts out to @WeWantDallas for that right there. Also, shouts out to Grant Paulson for this. The Commanders won't have Austin Ekeler nor Noah Brown for most of their stretch run. Very possible we don't see either again this regular season. Brown and Ekeler are the team's 3rd and 4th ranked pass catchers in terms of catches and yards. These are definitely key losses. Now, I've already done a video breaking down how like we need Luke McCaffrey to step up and which way that he can, and Olamide Zaccheaus and getting Jamison Crowder back is going to be big time, which has officially he's been activated from the injured reserve, so he will play against the New Orleans Saints more so as a punt returner, but also he'll contribute as a receiver as well. How we need De'Ami Brown to step up. I already did a full breakdown of like their skill sets and how they all kind of like Voltron together to kind of make up for the loss of Noah Brown. But don't forget, we have lost Austin Ekeler as well. Now, moving on to KJ Osborne, I'm not saying that he's going to directly replace both Austin Ekeler and Noah Brown and make up for everything that we've lost from those guys getting hurt, but he will play a big part in how we make up for those losses. Like, I mean, he may not be the solution, but he's going to be one of the solutions for sure. He's definitely going to be a part of the solution. So, with wide receiver Noah Brown likely out for season, the Commanders went ahead and claimed KJ Osborne off of waivers from the New England Patriots per his agents Drew Rosenhaus and Robert Bailey. I've been all over the place. I wasn't even in Atlanta, so I wasn't able to like do a full report breaking down the actual day that we signed KJ Osborne. Even though earlier in that day, I went ahead and told y'all that we should sign KJ Osborne. I already talked about him then, but Now I'm here to break down why we signed him and how he can help this offense. So first of all, he's only 27 years old. And so we have likely lost Noah Brown for the rest of the season, but you potentially got Noah Brown again, but maybe even slightly better and with a slightly higher ceiling. Shouts out to Ethan Cadeau for this one. He said, I like this pickup a lot for Washington, especially with Noah Brown out. Good to add a reliable veteran, especially who's been productive when given the chance. He's definitely one of those guys that he's ready. Whenever you're ready to call his jersey, he will step up and make plays for you. You know that from his time in Minnesota. Speaking of Minnesota, Osborn caught 7 passes over 7 games before the Patriots waived him, and we're going to dive into why they waived him later and why there was mutual interest there. KJ Osborne wanted out of there so bad. We're going to dive into that later, right before we move on to the second half of the video, talking about and breaking down Marshawn Lattimore's impact on the defense. But either way, remember, he shined in Minnesota, catching 108 passes for 1,190 yards over 2 seasons of 2022 and 2023 combined. This is a good receiver here. And yeah, of course, adding KJ Osborne definitely makes you better, but I don't want y'all to jump too far with this. I'm not about to sit here and act like we just signed our savior or something. He's productive and dependable. That's very important, but he's not necessarily a game changer, I personally feel like. I would even argue that it would have made sense to sign KJ Osborne even if Noah Brown were still fully healthy right now. I feel like Noah Brown is a solid wide receiver 3, but I also feel like so is KJ Osborne. Now, I do feel like KJ Osborne may be slightly better than Noah Brown. We're going to dive into that soon, but we still don't, in my opinion, have a true wide receiver 2. We didn't have one, in my opinion, when Noah Brown was healthy, and I do not feel like we just signed one in KJ Osborne either. We may have to find that potentially in like the upcoming free agency or draft or something, but that does not mean that KJ Osborne is not a good receiver that will make this team better. I think it's somewhere in the middle. Some people are overreacting too far one way, some people are overreacting too far the other way. I feel like he's somewhere in the middle. Shouts out to George Carmi because I completely agree. He said KJ Osborne is a pretty solid wideout. He may not be a game breaker, but the team could have done much worse. I completely agree. And you could also argue he's on the same tier as Noah Brown, maybe better. I completely agree with all of that. I think if anything, if I had to choose between the two, I think KJ Osborne is the slightly better receiver. So technically you can argue that we at least made a slight upgrade, but again, neither of these guys are true wide receiver 2s in my opinion. It would have been nice to have both of them at the same time. Who knows, if Noah Brown doesn't get hurt, do we still go and even claim a KJ Osborne off of waivers? I'm very curious to know that. Probably I would personally, but I'm not sure if the Commanders feel the same. Also, shouts out to @WeWantDallas again from providing the stats that we talked about earlier. He said only 27 years old, best known for his 4 years in Minnesota prior to this year, had between 48 to 60 catches and 540 to 655 yards each of the last 3 seasons. Very dependable, very consistent. Doesn't have the size of Noah Brown, but has been more productive on a per season basis. Has played both wide out and in the slot. Very intriguing signing. I completely agree. Also, shouts out to my boy Eric Sully at Camelda's Realm. He said KJ Osborne, very productive, 3 years in Minnesota as the wide receiver 3, 158 receptions, 1,845 yards, and 15 touchdowns while sitting behind Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and Jordan Addison. Because remember, as soon as Adam Thielen left, the Minnesota Vikings went and got Jordan Addison. So KJ Osborne was always consistently basically the wide receiver 3. Didn't work out on a bad Patriots team for whatever reason. Only 27 years old, though, and I like the fact that everybody's mentioning that because this is a guy that's potentially only going to get better. Not gonna find better than that just floating around in December. I completely agree with that. At this point in the season, it's really tough to find somebody as good as KJ Osborne. You could argue that we got lucky. Now, again, like I said earlier, he makes us better, but maybe not as much better as some Commanders fans think or hope. But that does not mean that he doesn't make us better in the first place. I'm urging people to please calm down from going too far in either direction. I am not saying to ignore this signing like it just didn't happen, but I'm also saying we did not just sign Justin Jefferson. This is a guy that primarily has played in the slot, but can also play outside as well, and also is a deep threat that can stretch the field, which could open up a lot of things for this Commanders offense underneath. And when I say underneath, I'm talking about Terry McLaurin running his unguardable slant routes that he loves to run, or even the Commanders running backs and Jaden Daniels running the ball. You know, KJ Osborne even just being on the field as a deep threat it takes somebody outside of the box, and that would allow us to do what we really want to naturally do more times than not in this Cliff Kingsbury offense, which is run the ball and attack people underneath. Defenses have to acknowledge the fact that KJ Osborne is on the field and can go deep any play. You have to acknowledge that. You have to be aware of that. You have to at the very least keep eyes on it. And I would easily argue that Jaden Daniels is the best deep ball thrower that KJ Osborne has had so far in his NFL career. So he's probably even more of a threat now than he even was in Minnesota. So I'm expecting big things from him for sure. And even though he hasn't really done it since 2021, he also has punt and kick return experience. Now, we just activated Jamison Crowder off of the injured reserve to the 53-man roster, so he's going to more than likely take over punt return duties from Olamide Zaccheaus, because what other reason would you activate him immediately as quickly as you could? But we still need some kick return help with Austin Ekeler out for who knows how long. So my point is, ultimately, like at the very least, this guy is so versatile that he's going to help in a lot of different ways on both offense and special teams. And it's not like, again, we just signed Justin Jefferson or even a healthy T. Higgins, I would say, a few days ago. But I'm also not saying that he will be ready to help this team as soon as tomorrow versus the Saints. So keep that in mind. Don't just go into the Saints game assuming, oh, this is about to be the KJ Osborne coming out party. Welcome to the burgundy and gold. Welcome to the DMV type of thing. I'm not expecting that. It takes a minute for guys to learn the offense. Remember, after we signed Noah Brown, he just straight up didn't play a single snap against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then he played a handful of snaps against the Giants, and then it wasn't until like really week 3 against the Bengals where he started to actually play a significant amount of snaps. But again, I am saying that this is a good pickup. Do not get me wrong. This is a very good pickup, especially this late in the season, especially for a team that tried to sign Marquez Valdes-Scantling even when Noah Brown was still healthy. Noah Brown fully healthy, still balling out for us, still contributing to wins. We went and tried to sign Marquez Valdes-Scantling as soon as the Bills released him, but he chose the Saints over us, and that's why the Saints game is going to be interesting, because that's going to be like immediate revenge for us. Like, you should have came to us instead of the Saints. I don't know why he chose the Saints. Maybe they offered him more money or something like that. But my point is, there is a clear desire to improve this wide receiver room mid-season for a playoff push. Clear desire with the fact that they tried to go and get Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Again, that didn't even come from our side of the building. We have no leaks. We don't have random leaks coming out of the building. That came from his agent. His agent announced, okay, he's signing with the Saints, but hey, the Commanders also tried to sign him as well. But most importantly, lastly, I think Jaden Daniels, again, is the best, or at the very least, most talented quarterback that KJ Osborne has ever played with since he's entered the NFL. So if he can go crazy with Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, imagine what he could do for us. Again, not Justin Jefferson, but still a really good receiver that's going to help us a lot, I would definitely say. Also, remember, KJ Osborne was the guy that once hopped out of an Uber to pull an injured motorist out of a burning vehicle on the side of the road that one time. There's a whole story and article on that, you know, instead of reading that to y'all here, if you want to go check that out and go dive into deeper information. But I feel like most people don't really care about the details there. Just the fact that he even did that. Like, that's the type of player that Dan Quinn loves to have. Like, that type of valor, that type of mentality. Hey, man, Dan Quinn will take that any day of the week. So I'm pretty sure Dan Quinn was super happy to sign him. Probably happier, even happier than Cliff Kingsbury, X's and O's wise. Dan Quinn, just personality wise, was just super excited. Also, it was announced from the Commanders through Zach Selby that KJ Osborne will be available this weekend, but they're still focused on getting them up to speed. Again, like I already said, Noah Brown missed the first game after we signed him and barely played in the second one, so I'm not expecting a lot from KJ Osborne, but when he is ready to play for us, hopefully as soon as next week against the Eagles, I think he's going to be pretty impactful. Again, I really want to keep wanting to emphasize he's not Justin Jefferson, but he is a good receiver, and he's arguably better than anything we have outside of Terry McLaurin at this point. Now, I think Luke McCaffrey has a ceiling to him. I think De'Ami Brown's doing a better job of carving out a role for him right now. But KJ Osborne, especially with Noah Brown hurt, and I think even when healthy Noah Brown, I think KJ Osborne is still better than him. KJ Osborne is our second best receiver. It may not necessarily look like it immediately against the Saints because he still has to learn the offense. Cliff Kingsbury's offense does seem fairly complicated. Again, Noah Brown had to miss his first game, but I think we did just sign our second best receiver. Is he a wide receiver too? Not in my opinion. I think he's a top tier wide receiver 3, but right now he is our wide receiver 2. Don't get it mistaken, but that just tells you the shape of our receiver room right now. That KJ Osborne is our definitive wide receiver 2. I feel like, in my opinion, once he finally learns the offense, once Jaden Daniels and KJ Osborne start to gain that chemistry with each other, Cliff Kingsbury learns how to utilize him and things like that, he will be our wide receiver 2, even if Noah Brown does return back healthy, in my personal opinion. But again, that just shows the state of our wide receiver room, because I don't feel like he's necessarily a wide receiver 2, but he will definitely take that role here. He's probably really excited about that, to leave the Patriots, to come to an offense with a better quarterback, just a better team overall that's competing for the playoffs versus the Patriots that are pretty much tanking for a better draft pick at this point. And KJ Osborne was even asked about leaving the New England Patriots and joining the Washington Commanders and trying to get up to speed. He said, quote, "I'm a grinder. I got in last night," and this was like literally like we signed him, I think the 11th, and then the 12th is when he's saying this. So like literally after we signed him, we claimed him off of waivers. He said he probably got in at 12:30 and was up till 5 a.m. just trying to get everything going and learn the offense and everything like that. So shouts out to KJ Osborne for hitting the ground running as soon as we signed him. But there was some turmoil between him and the Patriots. He couldn't wait to leave there. Shouts out to this Patriots article right here, written by Sarah Marshall, who's a Patriots reporter. She said, despite putting together an impressive resume playing behind Justin Jefferson for the first 4 years of his career, Osborne was non-existent in the Patriots offense, and things never got better as the weeks went on. It was clear something was going on behind the scenes that the public was not made aware of, as Osborne took to social media at one point to air out his frustrations online. He eventually became the go-to healthy scratch among the overcrowded receiver room after the bye week. He mutually parted ways with New England. In his first comments as part of the Commanders organization, Osborne didn't hide his excitement about being out of Foxborough, and his limited remarks about his time with the team said far more than what we heard. So this is a guy that just couldn't wait to get out of New England. He is super excited to be with the Washington Commanders. So you have a guy that's extremely motivated and can't wait to prove that the fact that he deserves to be here, and he's going to do everything that he can with these final 4 games and how many ever playoff games we end up playing. He's going to utilize that as like an audition to say, hey, Adam Peters, Cliff Kingsbury, Dan Quinn, you may want to sign me long term when this offseason comes up, because right now he's just on a cheap little 1-year claimed off waiver wire deal type of thing. So he has the remainder of this season and whatever we do in the postseason to prove to this coaching staff, hey, you need me long term. And hey, prove me wrong and go out there and look like a true top tier wide receiver 2. Look like T. Higgins when he's healthy, and then we'll talk. Now, before we move on to the second half of this video and we start talking about Marshawn Lattimore, y'all already know this show is provided by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, and if you're looking for a new sportsbook, it should be BetUS for sure. First of all, they have the fastest payouts in the industry, and I know y'all want y'all money fast because I know I do. And right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code U2-150. That's YOUTUBE150. And they also have a fast and easy withdrawal and deposit process, so it's really like, why not? Now let's take a look at some of the bets that we can get into directly through their website. Commanders related. Hey man, if you still have faith that we can somehow replace the Philadelphia Eagles for first in the division, end up winning this division, I mean, we got to beat them next week. That's the most important part. We also need them to lose a couple of games. And if you truly believe that all of the turmoil that's going on behind the scenes can actually creep up and really hurt them on the field wise, even though they're on a 9-game winning streak right now, hopefully they can start to turn into a losing streak. Hopefully everything can collapse. If you can believe in that, what Brandon Graham was saying about Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, and if you believe us signing KJ Osborne and Marshawn Lattimore finally getting healthy enough to play for us is enough to take us over the top. If you believe that the Washington Commanders can win this division at plus 2,500 odds, if you put down $100 on this bet, you can end up winning $2,500 by the end of this regular season. It's a pretty far stretch. It's not very likely, but that's why it's that profitable. And of course, I'm always going to scream at y'all to please gamble responsibly. But if you still have faith that somehow the Eagles can lose enough games, because we do not control our own destiny necessarily. even if we beat the Eagles in 2 weeks, we may still need them to lose another game. So it's kind of out of our hands. If you believe that the Eagles will fall apart and we'll catch fire and we can win this division, then hey man, go at it. But again, please gamble responsibly. And before we get to Marshon Lattimore, I gotta remind y'all, again, right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YOUTUBE150. Please gamble responsibly. Now let's get to Marshon Lattimore, man. Now let's talk about how Marshon Lattimore will help the defense. Well, I've already done my own film study on him from the New Orleans Saints and everything like that, but we're going directly off of this article that John Kahn wrote for ESPN, where he even interviewed Commanders players and asked them how they feel like he will help. So let's dive into that, because I may eventually do a film session on Marshon Lattimore, especially after he plays this first game with us against the New Orleans Saints. But Quan Martin said, quote, "It does a lot having Marshon Lattimore. Matchup wise, stick him on the best receiver or whatever the game plan is this week. It will definitely help out. We'll definitely have matchups where I could leave him on his own because he's that kind of corner," unquote. That's coming from your free safety, Quan Martin. But he's basically saying now, with having a corner that good as Marshon Lattimore on our team, I can start to cheat towards the other side and be a better safety, because you're kind of spread thin as a free safety, especially if you're in single high or anything like that. And Jeremy Chin is definitely better in the box than he is back in coverage. We've seen that these last few weeks. Offenses have definitely targeted him in coverage. They're trying to take advantage of forcing him to cover guys rather than him playing where he plays best, in the box, stopping the run, covering tight ends and running backs underneath and things like that. But Quan Martin, especially if he can cheat towards one side, you know how much of a no-fly zone we will have. Marshon Lattimore on one side, Mike Sanford still on the other, and then Quan Martin's able to cheat and help out Noah Benogany and Mike Sanford still more than he's usually been able to. That's going to be big time for this defense. Continuing with the article, John Kahn said, "Washington has been one of the worst teams when it comes to playing man coverage against receivers. The Commanders rank 28th in opponent quarterback rating in those situations. They have allowed an NFL worst 14 touchdowns to receivers when playing man coverage. Meanwhile, New Orleans ranked second in those spots with Lattimore in the field, and it ranks 4th for the season. The Commanders have played the 13th most snaps in any form of man coverage out of the entire NFL, but when Quinn was Dallas defensive coordinator for the previous 3 seasons, the Cowboys played the second most number of snaps in man coverage, only to New Orleans, and as well as in the number 1 of single high safety looks according to Next Gen Stats. So just to let you know, now that they have a guy that they feel like they can trust to run the defense that they truly want to run, expect Joe Wood Jr. and Dan Quinn to be far more aggressive and run more man coverage than we have been so far this season. Now, we've run it, maybe you could argue, a little bit more than we should have, with Benjamin St-Juste out there getting exposed, and I'm never going to forget the game-winning touchdown he allowed against the Pittsburgh Steelers against a slow and tall Mike Williams. I thought that there were any receiver that he could cover, any type of receiver, any play style of a receiver, already slow naturally, but then also leg injuries made him even slower. Tall receiver like Mike Williams, I thought that could be it. That was officially the day that Benjamin St-Juste, I stopped trying to defend him. I kept trying to, tell fans, hey man, at least there's a certain type of corner, a wide receiver that he may be able to still be productive against. At least you can depend on Benjamin St-Juste to be consistent against this type of receiver, this set of receivers. And then after that, I was like, well, I have nothing for you. So having Marshon Lattimore is going to be a huge help, because that will allow Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr. to do exactly what they've wanted to do since they accepted the jobs here as head coach and defensive coordinator. They haven't been able to do it because they haven't had the manpower and the legs to do it, or the talent to do it. Now they officially have that in Marshon Lattimore. Continuing on, Joe Wood Jr. said, quote, "I don't know if I can pressure more than we've been pressuring. We haven't protected the corners," unquote. John Kahn continues on to say, "But it could be that the packages become more successful simply because they have a corner who excels in this coverage." 2 days after the trade, Witt said that he had scouted Lattimore before the 2017 draft. He was then a cornerbacks coach for Green Bay, and he had some really talented corners over there in Green Bay his time there, so he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. Quote, he said, "He was just a guy that got up there and challenged, and that's all we did. We pressed all of the time. We got up and pressed and challenged everything. And so that's what he is. And I like the fact that in this league, you're going to get beat at times. And then if he does get beat, he does not shy away. He gets right back up there and he does it again. And that's what it takes in this league to be a really good corner and just have that dog mentality. And he has that," unquote. I do want to take the time to point out that corners do get beat. Even the best of the best best get beat every now and then, especially in this current NFL climate where the rules are literally bent towards helping the offense score points. More points for the offense means more views, which means more money for the NFL. So that's why they protect the wide receiver so much. That's why they protect the quarterback so much. And that's why the rules are literally set up for corners to fail. Corners have the hardest job in the NFL. I'm saying all of that to say, don't expect Marshon Lattimore to completely not allow receivers to catch any passes for no yards, no nothing. But do remember that Marshon Lattimore has not allowed a touchdown in man coverage, I think, at least like his entire career or something like that, something insane, or at least the past few seasons or something like that. Finishing up with the article, John Com said after Washington acquired Lattimore, coaches and players mentioned that, quote, dog mentality, unquote. Or as Martin said, Lattimore is, quote, just feisty, unquote. His presence allows Washington to mix his coverages more, or Martin said, disguise even more often. So it's going to confuse opposing offenses. I'm telling you, this new look defense after Marshon Lattimore starts for us is going to have a lot of offenses confused. Even Jalen Hurts and that Eagles offense will not have nearly as much success against us as they did now with Marshon Lattimore in the offense. Mike Saverstill, a fellow outside corner, even said, quote, it adds another piece to the puzzle. He's known for being a guy who's sticky in coverage. He's an elite competitor, unquote. John Com continues and says, could it help against the run? Washington hopes so. However, the Commanders rank 27th in rushing yards allowed per game. They have defended the run with single high safety the 12th most times in the league. In theory, that puts an extra defender closer to the line of scrimmage, yet in those spots, they still allow 4-point yards per carry, which shows that, I mean, hopefully Marshon Lattimore being out there in theory can help with the run, because again, that would allow one more guy to stay in the box, but we've already been doing that and it still hasn't necessarily worked. So that goes to show that like Marshon Lattimore is going to help a lot in pass defense, and maybe he'll help a little as far as like domino effect goes against the run, but we still just need to get better guys as far as stopping the run, especially in that interior defensive line. So playing more single high safety looks like it might not be the recipe for a stronger run defense. Witt said a lot of that stemmed in the past from what he considered poor technique, whether in how defenders rotated or filled gaps. So really more of like a run fit thing, kind of like a chemistry thing as well. Hopefully we can get that shirt up as the season continues. One offensive coach who faced Lattimore at 28 years old right now earlier this season said he did not think he was playing at the same level he was in previous years, but Washington general manager Adam Peters did not share the same sentiment. He said, quote, he's still in his prime. He's still, in terms of his metrics and everything, he's still running at a really high level, and you can see it on the tape as well, unquote. And if that's how Adam Peters feels, then I agree. If Adam Peters says Marshon Lattimore is still in his prime, I feel like Marshon Lattimore is still in his prime. And I already gave y'all the ridiculous advanced stats that Marshon Lattimore was even just putting up this season before he dealt with the hamstring injury, which made him miss the final game for the Saints before they traded him to us. I mean, he was having a great season this year statistically. He was like a top 3 corner according to advanced metrics. So I agree off of the stats, and also just giving Adam Peters the benefit of the doubt. His scouting out right now with what he's done with this franchise in just one off season, I'm giving him the meanest benefit of the doubt. Now, finishing up with the article, finally, John Com says, but regardless, he's better than what Washington has on the roster and better than what it felt it could do in free agency or the draft. I agree. Peter said at the time of the trade, it was much more about the future. Lattimore is signed for 2 more seasons as it was about the present. I agree. I mean, however much he can help us with this season, 2024, the rest of these last 4 games and whatever we do in the postseason, that's great. But this is more so a future trade that we made. This is something to help us be Super Bowl contenders 2025 and beyond. I completely agree there as well. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting this video. If you made it this far in the video and you're hearing me talk right now, big salute to you, man. You are the GOAT. I really appreciate you. Please make sure you do not leave this video without leaving a like. And also, of course, let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree with any of my points. Do you agree about my assessment of KJ Osborne, where he's a high tier wide receiver 3, but hopefully he has some potential and some ceiling at only 27 years old to become a wide receiver 2, to become what we potentially want in like a healthy T. Higgins in the offseason, like a lot of us want to sign. Also, Also, let me know if you agree with the whole Marshawn Lattimore situation. Let me know how you feel about everything in this entire video. I'm gonna try my best to read and reply to as many comments as possible. I've been super busy the last few weeks. I know I keep saying that and I haven't been able to get to a lot of comments, but I really want to sit down whenever I'm less busy to really reply. Like, I'll go back weeks on weeks and try to reply to as many videos as I can. If I ever just catch a day, just a breather of not being super busy. So I really appreciate y'all. And of course, remember that this video was sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, and I'm always going to scream at y'all to please gamble responsibly. You don't do nothing else, please do that. Again, leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.